and my little snowman. This is a little
Where
googly
did you
eye.
get that?
I'm gonna be honest with you. We have like one ugly Christmas sweater, and we share it amongst the house. So anytime anybody needs it, this is the ugly Christmas sweater.
I
So
understand.
yeah. Yours is not like ugly. Yours is festive and fun.
I don't know
I
what
like
these
it.
are.
They're
I guess
snowmen, right?
they're snowmen, but it's a little
Yeah.
questionable. Look what I tried to do. I found this bow up in the attic,
Look at that. Is that
and
was
it's
just like in the attic of your office?
yes. Welcome to episode 7 of Beyond the Past. We're excited because Mike and I have a special holiday edition, aka everybody's, celebrating the holidays. So we thought this episode would be the perfect occasion to rattle off the Mike and Jen stories of how on earth we got into pest control.
Everybody wants to get to know their host a little bit, right?
Right. So should we start with you, Mike?
Sure,
Should we just
sure.
jump right into it?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
I think like most people, I did not grow up wanting to be in pest control. I didn't really think about it being an option. And you know, I if I told you that the reason I got in pest control is because I met a girl, I don't know how many people have that story,
Yeah, but
but
tell us more.
yeah. So I was doing some work for a large um hardware company, and I was traveling kind of all over the country building new stores for them. And I met somebody, and we decided that hey, we should get married, right? So I had that
Wow.
conversation, but it's really hard to get married when you're gone all the time. So I had a buddy that worked for Rentokil here in Cleveland, and he said, "Hey, why don't you come work here for the summer until you figure out what you want to be when you grow up?" So it was an opportunity for me to be home for a little while, you know, plan a wedding, do all those things that come along with it. It certainly was not a long-term goal for me. It was sort of just a stopgap, if you will. And I absolutely fell in love with the industry. I've had this conversation with folks in the past. Like, I'm not a bug guy. I'm an industry guy. I love what we do on a day-to-day basis. So started off as a technician. At the time, I think Rentokil had an office in Cleveland, Pittsburgh, New York, and I think one in Florida, and that was it. Like, our presence in North America was so small.
Wow.
We didn't even Cleveland wasn't even its own office. We were
Well,
a like satellite of our Pittsburgh office. That's how small the company was at the time that
are
I
you
joined.
from Ohio? You're from
Yeah,
Cleveland,
yeah.
Ohio?
From I was born in Cincinnati. Moved up to Cleveland when I was like 4. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, from this area. Uh, you know, my wife's family's from this area, so it's kind of why we look to stay around here. So started off as a technician. Um, and I was really lucky in that I kind of early on in my career, I got to meet some really good people that clearly
Yeah.
saw something in me, right? So, our technical director at the time, Chad Gore, and then Nancy Troiano, who is now the head of
Oh,
our
yeah. I haven't
our
met her
quality
yet.
department. Yeah. She's an amazing woman. Both of them kind of gave me opportunities, even back when I was a technician. We used to have this like hands-on training program called New Tech Academy. So to come out and be an instructor at New Tech Academy, um, you know, Chad kind of was the one who was like, "Hey, if you want to be in the technical department, if you want to end up in this world, these are the things that you should do."
So you
And
knew right off the bat that you wanted to be in the technical department?
yeah, it was. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I was probably a technician for like 4 or 5 years before I realized
Yeah.
that I wanted to do more. It was
Yeah.
definitely the end goal. Um, and went into being an operations manager. I was in sales for a short period of time too, just to like kind of understand all the pieces of the business that we do. But
Awesome.
I knew, I think, kind of earlier on that that's where I wanted to end up. And I was lucky enough that those two kind of put me on a path. And I kind of just started checking off the boxes, if you will. um and yeah, 8 years ago, almost 9 now, I got the opportunity to join our technical department and
Wow.
work with some really great people. So
So you never
um,
said the girl that you moved jobs for. Are you now married to this woman? This is your there
this is
we
it.
go.
This is the one. Yep,
There it
exactly.
is,
We've been
folks.
together for 28 years now.
That's
So
awesome, Mike.
yeah, we've been married for 21. We've been together for 28. So yeah,
So
I feel like I made several good choices at that time in my life. One was marrying her, and second was joining Rent a Kill. So
so what
yeah.
were you doing before? You said you were building. What was your role there? Were you
Yeah,
actually
so
boots on?
I worked for Home Depot and Lowe's, and when Home Depot and Lowe's, open new stores, they have folks that come in, set out the racking, put product out, and all that stuff. So I was kind of traveling everywhere from Pennsylvania up to Wisconsin. Whenever there was a new store, one of those things opening, I would go and open those stores. So um, it was fun for a while. I think anybody that travels for work will tell you, and it's funny because I've kind of come full circle with the amount of travel that I do now, again, for this job, um, is that it's fun for a while. You know what I mean? But at some point in time, you get sick of being in a hotel, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah,
Some people are make a career out of that.
yeah,
Traveling so much, staying in hotels.
yeah, it's a lot.
I like to ask them how they do it. I'll ask some of our reps, "How do you do it?"
Yeah, it's
But
it's
they like it.
Yeah, and look, I think it's some people absolutely love it, and I love the opportunity to see different places and work with different offices. Um, but I my wife teases me sometimes. She'll be like, "Oh, you get to travel these places," and I said, "I would be honest with you. Most of the time, I go visit a customer, I come back to my hotel, I eat Chipotle in my room, and do work and go to sleep." You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I've tried to do a better job in the last couple of years of when I'm someplace new, especially like going to take advantage of the fact that I'm somewhere new and see some things. So
Right.
over the course of the last couple of years, I think I've had the opportunity to visit 37 states in the last couple of years and see some new stuff. Some of that was with UPMTC, you know what I mean, getting to go to New Mexico for the first time with this group. So, but yeah, there's good and bad about it. I think my kids are a little older now, so they're off kind of doing their own thing. So I don't feel like I'm missing out so much on a lot of that stuff. So
Yeah, totally. That all the UPMTC trips at the end, so people know they'll go on a trip, they'll go to, a university, they'll have a whole itinerary. They'll go to universities if they can, they'll go to, universities who are working on pest control related things like different insects, etcetera. Uh, or they'll go to different companies, pest control companies, ones that are making chemicals and that sort of thing. But at the end, there's always an optional trip that they put together. So, did you end up going to was it White Sands?
yeah. I ended up
How
going to
was
White
that?
Sands. So my flight was earlier than everybody else's. So I drove out kind of by myself, checked that box and saw those things. Those guys hung out, had lunch, and they weren't leaving till some of them weren't leaving till the next day. So, but I wasn't sure when I was going to be that close to that again. So I'm like, well, I gotta do this. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, drove out there and checked that out. That was one of the I can tell you this, there was hardly anybody there when I was there. And as you get, there's a road that you can drive around there. And as you get towards the back of the park and there's no one around and you're just kind of surrounded by these huge mounds of sand, it's completely silent. Like, there's
Ooh.
no noise because you're set back from the road, and I think probably I don't know, I'm not, physics guy, but I'm assuming that all those sand mounds kind of
Dampens that
absorb.
all that noise, yeah.
Yeah, right, the sound. So you're out there, and it's just completely silent. It's a little
Wow,
eerie, I'm gonna be honest with
that's
you.
so
It's a little
cool.
weird to be out there with no sound, but, actually very, very, very beautiful, though. So
Yeah. And then your ringtone goes off and it
exactly, right, and you just
that is
jump and
funny.
start running, right?
Yeah.
It's just some horror movie, right? So,
So your
yeah,
kids, you have 2
yeah,
kids, are
I
they
do.
interested at all in pest control, or do they ask you about your job?
You know what? I think they know what I do in general, in like overarching terms. Uh, I don't know that either one of them are super interested in following in dad's footsteps. Um, my daughter is in college. She's going to be a junior. She's getting a degree in speech therapy. And my son is a senior in high school this year, and he's heading off next year to college to kind of get into physical therapy. So my wife is a nurse, and they're both kind
Yep.
of following her into the healthcare fields. So and yeah, my daughter's terrified of insects of most kind.
Come
So
on, still,
yeah, it's
Mike.
crazy. It's funny. And my wife and I make a good team. I don't do blood and guts. I'm terrible at that stuff.
That's
And
right.
she doesn't do bugs. So we make a good team, right?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I
So
mean, like I said, I was really lucky, I think, to join this organization kind of early on here in North America. I was lucky that I had, people that were interested in mentoring me. Um, and I've tried to kind of return the favor, if you will, with other folks that I've worked with over the years to, say, hey, if you want to, if this is where you want to end up, these are the things that you need to do, and work with them. But I think that, you know, when you don't come from, you kind of have two paths to a technical department, right? You come from academia, or you kind of work your way up through the ranks. But I think when you work your way up through the ranks, it's super beneficial to have somebody that is willing to kind of take you by the hand and lead you through that process and make it a lot easier. So I was really lucky that those I mean, there were way more people than just those two that helped me get where I am in my career, but those were far and away the two biggest impacts, that I had on my career development were Chad and Nancy. So
yeah, well, it's cool that
yeah,
you've worked for the same company for a
yeah,
year too,
yeah,
and I mean, 'cause that is pretty common for our industry, for people to
yeah,
stick with the same company
yeah,
through their entire career. I mean, we
yep,
just talked to Jeff, and although he worked at Rose for a while, he was with, Sprague for
yeah,
35 plus years
yeah,
because there's just so many opportunities, and the bigger that the company goes and the more that, you have a hand in seeing that growth, you
yeah,
feel that, you're compelled to wanna, branch it out, make it bigger.
yep. But I think that that's, one of the things that has been so great for me in being a member of UPMTC is getting different perspectives. Being with one
Mhm.
company for how long has it been now? So, 2002. So, however many years that's been since I joined here, you kind of get that sort of one world view of, you know, what this industry looks like. And, obviously over the course of time, we've had several acquisitions, and I've gotten to, get little sneak peeks into how, they did things, how we did things. But, being a part of this group and being able to, talk to folks like you and Shep and Jeff and, Bob and even Jeremy, up for a Canadian perspective, it's nice to have access to those sort of other ways to look at things, other ways to approach problems, because, I do think that, sometimes, if you just stick with your own little silo, you kind of get tunnel vision.
Yeah,
And it's, being a part of this group has really benefited me, and I think made me 100% better at what I do day in and day out, just being able to collaborate with the other folks that are part of our group. So,
totally. So
yeah.
I wanna get this straight. So you been working for Renical Terminix since 2002. Where did I get the 8 years from? Is that just
That's how long I've been in the technical department. So I was a
okay,
technician for the
like 4 or
first
5 years. Yep.
10 years or so. Actually, 10 years.
Oh,
I was an
10 years?
operations manager for 5, and
Dang.
then came to the technical department 8 years ago. So what is that? 23 years, if my math is right. That sounds
Wow.
yeah,
Dude,
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. It's
It,
been a
like,
long time.
flies by, right?
Yeah, yeah, it does. It went fast. I still remember my very first day on the job. I still remember, there are things that, kind of stick out, but
Tell
I
me
very
about
much
it.
remember my first day, on the job. And it's funny, I look back now and I think how much our training has evolved over the course of 23 years,
Yep.
but there was when I first started here, I had a route book and a pager. So,
Yes.
if you had questions, you either, use the customer's phone or you found a payphone someplace. So,
Do
yeah,
you remember getting lost?
oh God, yeah. We talk
Yeah.
about this all the time. So there was a GPS when I was a technician when I first started off. So we had these street maps, right, in these books, and it never failed. The page that you needed was always missing from that street guide. You know what I
No,
mean?
what?
Yes. So like, because technicians, when you changed
Like,
routes, you would
just
kind of
ripped out?
like, yeah, yeah, exactly. You'd be, and there would be pages missing, and yeah, the idea of getting lost, I think it's funny to me. Like my kids have no concept of the idea. Like, what do you mean you didn't know where you're going? You know? You just
Well,
put
it's
it in.
like if they lose reception or something, Google Maps is
Yeah.
down, and then it's like that
Yep.
moment of panic, but you just had to know general directions of where where the heck you
Exactly,
were.
right?
Mhm.
I'm terrified for them now if they would, like, ever if their phones went out and they had to get home from somewhere further than, like, 20 minutes from our house. I'm I'm a little concerned
Look
for
at that,
them.
we just have the
So
Find My app, and you're like, "Oh, here you are, you're right here." Like,
yeah, 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 yeah. Well, it's funny you say that. So, not to totally get off topic, but, my this is about a year and a half ago, my daughter got into a car accident. She got hit, very very minor one.
mm.
She got rear-ended by a lady, and she pulled into a development. She called me to tell me that she got into an accident. I'm like, "Where were you at?" And she's like, "I don't know." And I'm like, "What street are you on?" And she tells me, and I'm like, "What city are you in?" She's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "How
Yeah.
do you not know what city?" Anyways, that was the way that I found her is through the Find My Apple. I'm like, "All right, I see where you are. I'll be there in 20 minutes." You know what I mean? But,
Yeah.
yeah, it is kinda
I
funny that
remember when I was the first day that I was on my own and on my route, and, my phone was at, like, a 1% or something, and I think I forgot my personal phone that day or something. I just had the company cell phone. I
yeah.
don't remember if it wasn't charging in the truck or what the situation was, but it was low, and it was the end of the day. I just left somebody, I was about to go home, and was still pretty new to my neighborhood, so I had no idea where I was. So I was like just dying and I was like, "Oh no, no." So I went into this little park that I saw, like a little neighborhood, so suburban neighborhood parked, and then I saw this guy walking. He was walking his dog, and I was like, "Excuse me, where
Right?
am I?"
Yeah.
And it's like this was in when did I start? So I started in 2018. So
Okay.
this isn't even that long ago.
Yeah.
But like I had that moment where I was like, "Where am I?" And he actually, bless, he was an older gentleman, and he brought me inside his house. I met
Okay.
his wife. He
Okay.
printed me off MapQuest because
Oh
he
my god,
still
it's amazing.
used that. And I was like, I don't I w he printed me off, and I didn't even know MapQuest still existed,
Yeah.
but he didn't. I got home. I think I
That's
got, like,
amazing.
1 more percent charge, and thank God I was able to get home
You're
faster
done.
than reading that and figuring out how to decipher those directions again to, like,
Although,
retrain myself.
let's dissect the fact that you followed a man with a puppy into his house.
I did.
Yeah, I
Eh,
just wanna throw that out there, right? So
just ignore that fact, Mike.
we're gonna
Moving
gloss right over
on
that
to the
part, right?
important
Exactly.
parts of the story.
We know how to just drive down the street with a van and I got candy.
It's the story of my
But
life, though, you just meet friends everywhere,
you
and
do.
luckily,
It
pretty
it
good
is. And I
radar.
think I think that's, one of the coolest things about what we do is that you get to meet so many people that do so many different things on a daily basis, the folks that we work with, but then also, like all of our contacts, our customers, whether they're residential or commercial, and you get to see things. Like I've seen things at work that I never ever thought that, I would get to see. As far as like behind the scenes stuff, like how things work,
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty cool perk of our job. So 2018 is when you joined the
Mhm.
team down there?
Yeah, because
Okay.
I went to A&M from 2015 to 2017 and got my
Okay.
master's,
Okay.
and then after that,
Thanks
I
for
was
making me feel really old, by the way. I appreciate that.
and then I talked to
Already been in the industry for like 18 years, and you're like, I was going to school then, right? So
well, we
appreciate
had a
that. Thanks, Tim.
technician who said, "It's really easy to remember when I was born because it's just, I was born in 2000, so it's anything over that." And I'm like, "Oh."
Right?
And then now we have, ones younger than that, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's humbling for sure.
yeah, yeah. So
When you
you were at
realize you're,
A&M. I'm
like, one of
sorry.
the wise ones. But yeah, I
So you were at
started in
A&M.
2018. Yep, and when I went to A&M, I was part of 2 labs, so I feel like I always backtrack because my story is so convoluted,
Okay,
but I guess when pest control really started, like, how I got involved in that is because in 2015, I came down from Massachusetts, where I'm from. Um, I had a professor that I was talking to, and I was looking for an entomology program because at
okay.
that point, I realized what I wanted to do or thought I wanted to
How
do.
did that start though? Like, how do
Oh
you
god.
like? I'm obviously I didn't come through the
That's where the
academic thing.
story goes like
Yeah. So
this.
how did that start? Like, I'm guessing you didn't like grow up in Massachusetts thinking, hey, I want to be an entomologist, right? So how did your desire to pursue that start?
Yeah, no, because in Massachusetts, it's so cold in the winter time, so
Yeah.
everything gets, I just and I was a more suburb or no, I don't know, suburban kid. Well, I grew
Okay.
up in a town of 8,000 people
Okay.
called Munson, Massachusetts. We're right on the Connecticut border, and we're kind of like in the hills, like wooded hills.
Okay.
It's actually very picturesque. The town was, I think, incorporated in 1776,
Aw,
you know,
that's
so
awesome.
settlers, or if you're into it.
Yeah.
And then, and really it's like very picturesque. We're in between a valley. We've got,
Okay.
church steeple right there in town. It's very, very New England.
Like, very Hallmark Christmas movie.
Very, yes,
Yeah.
very, very much Hallmark Christmas movie. And, but yeah, because I lived right downtown compared to everyone, I feel like all my friends lived in literally in the middle of the woods. You'd have
Yeah.
to, trek up all these hills, and then their house would be down this wooded path, and maybe it wasn't even paved, and they lived in the woods. So that's just
Yeah.
kind of how a lot of people live. Um, but in comparison, I live downtown. And yeah, we had a small yard, so I saw the butterflies, saw some caterpillars, saw some ants, but it was never, never
Yeah.
piqued my interest. And so I think, like Pat was talking to us, having a natural inclination towards the sciences, that
Yeah.
was always my thing. It was very easy for me to pass science classes, and I enjoyed it. But I knew in high school when I took a work study program, I guess kind of like Pat, from 7 to 8 a.m. every other day, I would go to the local hospital, and I
Okay.
just knew that sterile environment was not for me. Not to
Okay.
mention, I would be running into neighbors of neighbors who are getting colonoscopies in the morning,
Yeah.
TMI, because that's the only surgery that's going on at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And they'd say, Jen, you want to sit in on another one of these? And I'd say, no,
No.
ma'am, I'm good. So it's like,
Seen one, seen 'em all, right?
see,
Yeah.
is that right? That is right. I was like, I don't think this is for me. But yeah, I like the sciences, so I went to the local state school, UMass, for biology.
Okay.
One of my first classes that I had in my dorm building, what they had two classes on the bottom floor. You could take, and you had to take it because it was supposed to like get you familiar with all your dorm mates. But it
Okay.
was a psychology class, or you could take an anthropology 101 class.
Okay.
And I, loving Indiana Jones, decided that I would take, the anthropology class because I thought it
Yeah.
would be interesting. And I, didn't want to talk about brains and stuff. So I was
Yeah.
good on that. And I ended up loving it. The teacher was awesome. We got to talk about bones and just archaeology type stuff and like Lucy,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
pre-human hominids and stuff. And so that was my entire from freshman year when I changed my major to anthropology through my senior year. I was like gung ho all in. Thought it was so
Okay.
fun. Learning, learning about dead languages and dying languages and humans and archaeology and going to like Native American sites near my school and how to dig up properly, all that
Yeah.
stuff. Um, and then through one of these classes, it was a primates class. They said, hey, if you want to take this kind of one extra credit class off of this main primate class, I think it was a grad student just wanted to teach something. And so they said, if you take this class, you'll get a firsthand opportunity to sign up to go on a field study to Madagascar.
Okay.
It's small town girl, hasn't been anywhere.
Yeah.
This would be amazing, but it's so expensive. How am I going to do that? So, got some grants, took the class, and was able to do a field study for, I think it was a month in Madagascar. And so at that point, like bugs aren't even on my mind. But
So, real quick, when you go to Madagascar, I'm guessing
yeah.
you're not staying at, like, a Hilton. Like, what
So
what is
no, you're
what is that
not.
all about?
No, you're absolutely not.
No.
So when we first So you fly from, I think we did Boston or New York to Paris, Paris to Madagascar, 17-hour flight. You
Okay.
fly into Antananarivo, which is the capital.
Okay.
And even the capital is like you smell, like the cooked meats in the roads.
Yeah.
And, you know, some people are wearing shoes, some people aren't.
Gotcha.
It's like, yeah, it's just like crazy.
Yeah.
Like a lot of, fire smoke smells, lots of
Okay.
noise, lots of diesel.
Okay.
So that's the capital city, and they have like a university there where they learn French as well.
Okay. So wait, what is the official language of Madagascar? I'm so not worldly. I don't.
Malagasy. Malagasy is the official language, but I think
Okay.
maybe French is, I don't know if it's
Okay.
also or if it's like
Okay.
the second most common. So it's cool because all the architecture there in the capital city is like has French a
Okay.
feeling, with the wrought
Okay.
iron and everything.
Yeah.
It's really pretty. Um, it was just yeah, but I mean, but it's different, right?
Yeah.
They had the internet cafes, so if you wanted to reach out to your loved ones, you'd have to pay per the minute, and then you were
So
waiting, waiting,
give 'em
waiting for a
quarters in a
connection.
slot so you can go on
Yeah, we were
AOL.
just kinda like, yeah, waiting, 10 minutes, and then you're like, "Oh, it's working," and then you try
Yeah.
to send, like, one
I
little
mean, it's crazy.
quick sentence. And then from there, we went on a 10-hour Jeep ride through, like, the forest, and it was
Okay.
insane because some of the roads were just had been hollowed out essentially from rain, so that
Okay.
all that remained was just, like, 2 pillars of where the wheels would go down.
Yeah.
And
Oh
so
my
we're, like,
god.
at a 45 incline, like, "Okay, here we go," or we'd have to get out of the truck of the car at sometimes just to go, for the driver to progress. So, we're, like, going into the middle of nowhere because you're trying to find the whole project was about lemurs. So
Okay.
uh, this is a organization called SADABE,
Okay.
SADABE, and they're really great because they help the locals as well. But anyway, this is a whole tangent. So we're on this crazy Jeep ride. By the way, I haven't had to pee so bad in my entire life. Like, I
Wait,
don't
like
know
right
why.
now or when you were in
No, no,
Madagascar?
no, no.
Oh, okay. I was
I would let you know if it was right
okay,
now,
I
we would take a
appreciate that.
pause. But, like, it was such a long car ride, and we couldn't just for whatever reason, we couldn't just go because there's nowhere to I mean,
Yeah, I
I
get
don't
that.
know. I think what happened was we went to a restaurant. Yes, we went to a restaurant. I was so proud of myself because I had just taken language classes and I was like wanting to study Malagasy and wanted to show off my language skills. So I learned how to say, "Where is the bathroom?" when we stopped to get
Yeah.
food. So,
Yes.
I was like so happy, like proud of myself.
You did that
And
well.
then this
I'm
dude
impressed you remember that still.
Oh, I love languages.
Okay.
I love
D
yeah, like, I at one point, I thought I was going to, Kenya, and so I learned some, like, Swahili, I think maybe
Okay.
was the
Okay.
anyway, I really like it. But, so we stop at this restaurant, and I'm like, "I need to if you want, where's the bathroom?" And the lady just points to the back of the restaurant,
Yeah.
and there's a little sign that says Fivuana, which is bathroom, and I was like,
Okay.
"Oh, well, I just wanted to practice anyway." I
Yeah.
I could whatever. So I go through, and as soon as you open the door, it's not a bathroom, it's the outside. So you're outside, and then you look to the right, and you can see the people cooking your food in the back under a tent
Okay.
with, like, a big kettle, and I ordered a fried egg on rice. I think that's all
Okay.
I because I was scared. I didn't know what I
Yeah.
was gonna eat. And then there was an outhouse in the far back against the fence, and so I went over there, and I opened it up, and I was like, "I just can't. I can't." I cannot, and I think so
Wait,
that's why I held it the entire time, and so
okay.
then I felt like my
Okay.
kidneys were gonna burst, and then I finally said, like, "Y'all gotta let me off, I just need to go," and so they
Yeah.
finally a ditch was right over there on the side of the road, so cars are still going past, and they
Yeah.
just see this white lady white girl on the side of
Yeah,
the
but I
road.
feel like at that point in time, like, modesty is out the window. It's an emergency,
Oh, did not
right?
care. Yeah,
Yeah. No.
absolutely. Kidney failure is on the
Exactly.
horizon.
It's either happening here or in the car. Let's
Yeah.
make good choices. I
Yeah,
got you.
so I could, like, go on and on about that trip, but the point of it was we were in the wood like, in the highlands of Madagascar, so this is the parts of the forest that are relatively untouched, and we were studying lemurs, and my project I don't know why I chose to do this, but I thought, well, yeah, I'll wake up at when everyone else is asleep and, go on these night hikes. Why
Okay.
not? And so we were trying to census lemurs have, like, it's called the tapetum lucidum. It's like a cat, like it flashes, their eyes flash in the night.
Okay.
So if you're shining a flashlight in the woods, you can see it'll catch on their eyes, and that's
Oh,
how you
really?
can determine if they're there. And
Yeah.
then once you determine if the lemurs are there, then you can jot down what species they are, how
Okay.
many they are, you know, whatever other information you can find. And then so we were doing like a census. Well, we were in the woods for like 5, 6 hours every single night for a month. And we're using our flashlights, we have our headlamps on, and lemurs aren't just everywhere. You kinda have to search for them, it's tedious, but there's bugs everywhere, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's bright, they're at your, light, and this is it's kinda cool outside at this point. This is
Okay.
I think it was like, gosh, was it June, July? It was, but I remember it was cold. Um, and you would see, like, the tiny little chameleons and everything, like,
Okay.
the world's tiniest chameleon
Okay.
everywhere, and just the coolest stuff, and I was like, "What the hell?" Like, "This is amazing." And so I'll never forget it. Once you got to the top of the ridge, everything, the bushes got a little bit, smaller, more scraggly. Trees went away, and it was very misty because I think they call it a cloud forest up there.
Okay.
So it's really misty. And right at the top of the ridge on this one bush was this bright red spiny orb weaver spider.
Okay.
And it was so cool, like, against the misty backdrop, and I would just
Yeah.
see it every night, and I guess just walking by it so many times, I was like, "Man, like, that thing is so cool." I had never seen a spiny spider in my life
Yeah.
growing up in Massachusetts. I knew nothing about them. I thought this was just the most just amazing thing I'd ever seen. All that to say, came home to Massachusetts again and was, because 'cause I'm a, millennial, I was Googling. I was like, "All right, anthropology plus entomology," because I learned that new term means the
Yeah.
study of bugs. So I looked it up and Google shot out, "Hey, there's this thing called forensic entomology." It's like, cool. You get to study what happens to a cadaver, what insects colonize the remains. And I was like, I already know bodies.
Yep.
I like bugs. Heck yes. This is
What could go wrong,
What
right?
could possibly go wrong? This is exactly what I wanna do. Plus, at the same time, those shows like Bones and
Yeah.
stuff, CSI, all those were out, and, like, who wasn't into those shows?
Right? I still watch Bones now.
It's such a good show. So,
Yeah, it's a good
yeah,
show.
I don't think I've watched every season, but I need to. Um, but yeah, so
Might
that's
jump the
kind of
shark towards the end, but
did it.
yeah. Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's how I feel
Young
like
shows
every
do.
single show
They all do,
just
right?
kinda goes, yeah, it's like it becomes more and more unhinged and
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah, yeah. Just, like, not that that show is ever, like, super realistic, but towards the end, it
Right.
got a little too much, so
Totally, and
yeah.
now it's like if I watch it, it's when you know too much, or like Hodgins with the bugs and
Yeah, yeah,
everything,
yeah. Yep, I
it's
remember
like,
him.
yeah, okay.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah, so then I just started signing up for internships. I was able to go to the body farm here in Tennessee in
Oh,
Knoxville
really? Okay.
in 2014, which was awesome. That was another month-long internship, and then after that, I had to be a big girl and get a job because I couldn't keep, not getting paid from internships.
I feel like
So,
there was an episode of Bones where somebody hid a body at a body farm. I'm gonna Google that
ooh.
when we're done, but I feel like that's the thing. Alright, I'm sorry. That was total
They would
tangent.
know though
Mhm.
because all of
Yeah.
them are marked and all that
Yeah,
fun
yeah, yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Yeah,
But
I'm sure.
yeah. So yeah, so then I had to get a real job. So I moved to Boston and I really did not want to move to Boston. I'm from Western Mass
Okay.
and Boston was just like, big city. I don't want to go there. But I did because I needed a job. And so I worked for a big hospital there doing animal study research, which was
Okay.
like, I just felt bad.
Yeah.
And then I got into pest control. It's
Yeah,
like you
right?
feel bad doing animal research and then
I get
but
it though, because like, I've done pest control at some animal research facilities, and it's different. What we do is different, you know what I mean? Like, I
it's
understand.
different.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
understand. I get it where you were coming from. It's
Well,
just a
because
different.
bugs are in their natural, but I mean, they're at least they're outside.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yep,
But
yep.
these ones, it's
Yeah,
totally sterile, unnatural
yeah,
habitat.
yeah,
But anyway, so yeah, I was miserable, and so I started reaching out to professors. I think I was just looking at Michigan and Texas, anywhere that had a forensic entomology program.
yeah.
And then, yeah, I got a call one day as I was working and in one of the labs, and they said, "Hey," uh, this was a professor at Texas A&M. He said, "Hey, sorry, this is last minute, but I just got some funding. It's not in forensics." And he was a forensics lab guy, but I'm working with the urban entomology department. It's in fire ants. So do you want to move here and work on that project? Because I wanted to get paid to go to school,
Yeah,
as you do, because
yeah.
you're broke at this point. So I said, "Yeah, when do I start?" And he says, "Can you be here in 3 weeks?" I think it was 3 weeks.
Okay.
So yeah, so I packed up everything and I still remember that plane ride into Texas. Like it's flat and it's brown because the A&M,
Yeah,
campus is military. So I was like,
yeah,
"Oh, what have I done?"
yeah.
But yeah,
Especially
it was a
coming
great
from
time.
where you're coming from, you know what I mean? Where, like,
Mhm.
that part of Massachusetts, like, green, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
You have fall color changing and stuff like that, and then you really couldn't go anywhere more opposite, I think, than where you came
Yeah,
from,
it was
right?
completely opposite, and it was in August.
Okay.
So I was just floored at how humid it was, and
Yeah.
I still remember when I landed, I was like, "Well, I'm gonna go for a walk." I found the
Yeah.
new place that I was staying. I thought, "I'm gonna go for a walk." I think there's, like, a bus stop or something that would take me to the campus. I wore a gray T-shirt, and I walked to this little bus stop, and by the time I got there, the gray T-shirt was a bad idea.
Yeah. Right?
But yeah, it ended up being a great experience, and I was part of the forensic lab and the urban entomology lab, and
Okay.
it was a whirlwind. I'm not crazy about master's degrees now that I've gone through it just because there's so much to do in only 2
Yeah.
years, but it was a great experience, and I met a lot of pest control people. At that point, I never thought that I would go into pest control, but at least dip my toes in, you know?
Okay. Then how did you end up
Yeah.
so I think that's one of the things that I hear a lot from the folks that have been in academia is that, you know, you haven't really been exposed to the fact that industry is an option. Right? Like,
Yeah.
during your time at A&M, you know, you hear that a lot. I talked to Chad, like, when he was at NC State, you know, it wasn't really something that was talked about as industry being an option. It was sort of like, if you're in academia, you're gonna grow up and you're going to be in academia. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
that's so how did that come about that you realized that it was an option?
Yeah, and it didn't when I was in school because and even I think back on it, all of the grad students that were in the urban entomology department had to attend a pest control conference.
Okay.
And the thing was is that we just gave an update on the research that we were doing and how it
Okay.
would benefit the pest control industry. So like I
Yeah.
was working on fire ant baits.
Yeah.
So, little I'm just going up. I have no idea how to approach a room full of pest management professionals.
Yeah.
I know nothing about pest management, so I'm like, "Who here has been stung by a fire ant?" Bit,
Right?
stung
Yeah.
is the proper
Yeah.
term. And, of course, everyone's like, "Duh."
Yeah,
You
exactly, like,
know?
all of us. Thanks.
Like,
Right?
every hand went up, and I'm seeing, like,
Yeah.
eye rolls, and I'm like, "Okay," you know?
Yeah.
No, they were nice, but, um so, yeah, I was still gung ho. I was like, "I'm gonna do forensics, by God. Let me figure out a way to do this," even though and
Yeah.
I found out it's very saturated. I felt like I needed to get a PhD. It's hard you can't just find jobs for forensic
Yeah.
anthropologists, on Craigslist
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
Indeed or
right?
wherever.
Yeah,
So lots of schooling. And so what happened, I was I was desperate for a job. I was bored. My now husband, but my boyfriend at the time, Mike, he was in the oil field. So he had just gotten
okay,
a good job as a e-tech fracking.
okay,
So he'd be on 2 weeks, off 2 weeks. And he was doing great, and so at that time, I just needed to focus on, like, writing out my dissertation and stuff, but
yeah,
unfortunately, I was kinda over it. Was kind
okay,
of just checked out, and so I was looking for jobs. I was like, what else can I do to keep myself busy?" And so I was just applying to now outside of forensics, I was like, "Let me go walk into Trader Joe's. Let me just go walk into wherever." And I remember we were talking to, uh, Bob about this on his podcast about the PetSmart,
yeah,
because I remember I was parked in front of the PetSmart, and I was like, "What am I gonna do?" And I texted Janice Reed, who's with CSI now, and I just asked her, "What do you think about pest control? Do you like it?" She's like,
yeah,
"Heck yeah." Like, but she said, "If you do get into pest control, you gotta start from the bottom up. It's really the only way to, like,
yeah,
learn the whole thing." So she was big on that. At the same time, my husband, when he'd be home, he did the millennial Google thing again, and he was just like, "Entomologist in the Houston area." I was there for an internship, of course. I was there for
yeah,
another internship. And this guy named Jeff Tucker out of Houston popped up. And my husband Mike says, "Oh, why don't you go talk to this guy?" And I was like, "Well, he's in pest control. I don't know. I don't know if I'm interested in that." Because, I'm stubborn. I'm in my
yeah.
box.
Plus, I mean, like, if you don't know the industry, let's be honest, from, like, an outside perspective, does it sound like super fun? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you
No,
don't know
it
knowing what we
doesn't.
know
It
now, right? I
No, it
love it.
doesn't.
But like from the
Yeah.
outside, so you want me to spend my day covered in cockroaches and bed bugs, right? Like that. I don't know that there's like a it's a mass appeal, right?
Well, that and I mean, and you're from up north too, like, do you remember getting any pest control treatments as a kid?
No, we didn't do anything.
No.
No, we didn't do that.
Like, our
No.
parents went to I don't remember my parents one time even buying Raid or anything like that.
No. I'm gonna tell you my one pest control experience as a child, right? So it was my mom and my two brothers and I, and we had a dog. And one day, she went to go feed the dog, and there was a mouse in a bag full of dog food that got into our laundry room,
Yeah.
and I smashed it with a brick. That was my pest control experience, like
Yeah,
prior to joining the actual industry. We just
totally.
didn't. I mean, now I see how much work we do up here, but at the time, no, we didn't have any kind of like quarterly service or any of that kind of stuff. So no,
Right.
not at all.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's the same thing. My father would have taken care of whatever
Yeah.
came. I think I've talked to him since about it, and I'm like, "Did you ever pay for a service or anything?" And he says, "Yeah, I think we had a guy come over for carpenter ants one time." I was like, "No kidding." I had
Yep.
no idea.
Yeah.
'Cause I remember, the house that I grew up in, it was built in 1853,
Oh, wow. Okay.
drafty as heck, and we used to get the Asian lady beetles every year, and so
Yeah.
they would just it was like just a thing. You knew that, in the wintertime, they were just gonna
Yeah.
be above your bed, and you just kinda
Yeah.
let them be, and
Yeah.
they'd go away. Um, but yeah, so what he did was he reached out to Jeff Tucker, my husband. And Jeff Tucker, who's a consultant in Houston, wonderful guy. He's retired now. But he reached out to Mike through an email and said, if your girlfriend is interested in entomology, maybe she should reach out to me. So and I was like, cheeky.
Yeah.
So I decided to go see him at his Houston office, and
Okay.
it had just gotten flooded because Houston just it'll sprinkle and that place floods. So if we get any
Okay.
crazy rain, which we did, it had flooded pretty bad. A lot of the buildings over there. So his office was being remediated, but he's like, "Yeah, come on down. Like I've got space. I've got a chair. We can just chat and talk about pest control." And I was like,
Yeah.
"What do I have to lose? Like
Yeah.
I don't want to write this dissertation." So
Right?
what I'm happy to go down there. And we ended up talking for 3 or 4 hours. And he was just telling me, like, all of his war stories and these crazy things that he got to see because he was a consultant. So, basically, people would reach out to him if the pest control company came, saw the issue, and was like, "We have no idea how we would even tackle this." Or
Yeah.
they would try to, solve a lot of it was small fly issues.
Okay.
So he'd have to get creative and figure out the source or like how he was gonna, get rid of the source or get rid of the
Yeah.
flies. So I thought that was pretty cool, but I still wasn't super psyched about it. But I thought, after knowing more about it and that it wasn't just, that I could, the fact that, I had done so much schooling was important to me. Like I did want to use whatever degree that I had.
Yeah.
I felt like that was important. I didn't want it to be a waste.
Yeah.
Um, And so I said, "Yeah, if you know anybody, to just them in contact with me, that would be great." So he put me in contact with ABC Austin,
Yeah.
and ABC loves to hire Aggies, so
Okay.
Texas A&M students, and so or graduates, and so that's where I worked. That was my
Okay.
first job in 2018. I started as a technician because that's big with them, starting as a technician, then moving your way up.
Yep. We're lucky enough I've gotten to do some work with some of the guys from ABC Houston over the years, and,
Yeah,
just all in all, a good company, a good well-run company,
yeah,
and good people there. So, I mean, like, if you're gonna pick a place to start,
it was great.
outstanding place to start. Yeah, for sure. So
Yeah,
then how did you end up in Tennessee?
COVID.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm. Yep. So, my husband has some family in Texas, but all of my family is up north.
Okay.
And I think COVID was just kind of a time of like, well, if we're going to make changes, like, let's make it,
Yeah.
that was for a lot of people, a lot of movement. And so I have some family in Tennessee here in
Okay.
Nashville. So we decided to make the move and just try something new.
Okay.
And that was when I was commercial operations manager in Austin, but I was
Okay.
able to have the technical director role, which I'm in now,
Okay.
by to
Okay.
All-American in Nashville.
Okay. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
so yeah, it's been really great. Just
It
being
is
able
funny.
just learning so many new things, like, through all of the roles that I've been able to have, I've learned so much.
Do you think one of the cool things is so this is what, our 7th episode now, is that right? Did I do that, or is
Mhm.
this
Lucky
8?
number 7.
Yeah, right? So 7, everybody's like, there's not one path to
No.
get where you are, you know what I mean? Like, there are so many options for you, whether you start off in the industry, don't know anything about the industry, grew up in a mom and pop company, whatever, like, there are
Yeah.
so many paths, but I think that the one thing that I think we've gotten from everybody is that you have to love what you do, right? And then when you love what you do, the path becomes a little easier, right? Because
Yep.
you enjoy the work to get there. And I think that that's one thing that if there's one thing that I can tell people about this industry in general is like give it a chance. You know what I mean?
Y
Come try it. Realize that, it's we do something different almost every single day. I love puzzles. I think that's why I love
Me
this so
too.
much because
Yep.
the majority of what we do is not necessarily like, I've always said it. Yeah, I could have taught my son at 3 years old how to use a B&G, right? But it's the deductive skills that we use on a daily basis to say, well, why? And what's the best course of action? And just because that works here doesn't mean it's gonna work there, right? And the trial and error and that's what makes this fun, for me, um, is just the day-to-day challenges of it. So I love that, like I said, you and I have very different ways that we got here. Everybody we've talked to is at a different path to get to where they are in this industry. And look, it's not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Even though
No.
you and I didn't have pest control treatments when we were growing up, you know what I mean? Like, this industry
Right.
isn't getting smaller, it's only
Right.
getting bigger. There's a bigger need for it, and yeah, just I don't know, like I said, I feel very fortunate that I was in a position at the time that I was to make the decisions I made and meet the people that I met to end up where we are. So
Totally. There are so many good people in this industry that
yeah,
just wanna share. It's not about the competition,
yeah,
and I feel like my theory is that it's because we're all fighting pests, like, we all
yeah,
have a common enemy.
yeah,
I don't know
yep,
if that's true,
yep, yeah.
but
And I
certainly.
think our part of the industry is probably a little different than, like, if we were in sales. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I can't
Mhm.
see, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but to your point, yes, that it is a very collaborative industry. I have
Totally.
never reached out to anybody from our group and been like, "Oh, I can't tell you the answer to that." You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Are there some, like, proprietary things that we don't
Sure.
share? Absolutely, but,
Yep.
you know, eh, being able to share ideas and the way that we approach things or even how we do training and stuff like that, it's a very collaborative industry
Well,
that
and there's
that
something for everyone too. Like, not everyone is into bugs, not everyone
Yeah,
wants the technical path,
yep,
but the majority of my technicians when I'm training my new hires and I ask them, "What do you like most?" I would say 8 out of 10 like the people. They like people
yeah,
just
yeah,
or they like being by themselves most of
yeah,
the day,
yeah,
but, having that customer interaction and like you said, getting to see behind the scenes
yeah. I think you're
motivators.
right. You have to be sort of self-disciplined because for the most time when you're out and about, you know what I mean, you're out on your own. You don't have
Yeah,
somebody, standing over you watching you operate a punch press or something along those lines,
right.
and you do have to have, I think more than anything, the communication piece of what we do is so much more important. I think because look, you know, bugs or insects or and rodents and whatever pest you want to talk about, no one wants them in their environment, right? So it makes you feel a way to have them in there. So to be able to offer somebody peace of mind and say, "No, Mrs. Smith, we're gonna get you taken care of," or "Don't worry, large food processing plant will make sure that you don't end up with, any contaminants in your finished product." It does it. I think that, we protect people, we protect industries every single day. And like I said, it's just one of those things that, if you aren't in this industry, you don't know those things about this industry.
Mhm.
So
Oh, man. I mean, we could do an entire podcast about that because it's like, how do you, instill technician confidence in knowing that what they're doing is actually, industry standard
yeah,
protocol? Like, are they doing the right thing or are they just kind of, making stuff? Do they feel like they're making stuff up as they go? I
yeah,
mean, that's what I deal with all the time in making new protocols and training technicians. And it's like, it's never ending. It's really
yeah.
never ending.
Well, because I think that, there's constantly new research out there. There's
Constantly.
constantly new, products
Mhm.
available for us, and we have to adapt our behaviors, to that. We've come such a long way from even from when I started in this industry.
Mhm.
I was sort of at the tail end of the guy that walked in carrying his B&G and just kinda, like, sprayed stuff, like, that
Totally.
was I
I
was
remember technicians, and
yeah.
back in my
And,
day, but
yeah,
yeah.
that was sort of your go-to,
Mhm.
So and I mean, I realize I've been in this industry for a while, but it's not that long ago, and how much
I
our
know I'm talking about 2018 over here.
exactly, right? But I mean, like, it hasn't it's changed so much in that period of time of how we approach pests and how we use
Mhm.
biology to our advantages and stuff like that, so you know what I've
Yeah.
always wanted to know about UMass? There is a song by the Pixies called UMass, which is one of my favorite songs. Is that a thing that the folks at UMass, like, blare constantly? I'm judging by the look on your face that you're like, "No, that is not a song that I
No.
listen to on a regular basis,"
And maybe
so
I'm doing UMass a disservice.
I'm
Um,
gonna send you the song after we get
I
off of
will
this so you
listen to the
can listen
song.
to it. Yeah.
It's like, I feel like you just pulled out a distant memory, but unfortunately, I don't.
I'm gonna send it to you, and you'll be like, "Oh, wait, I know this song." You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But that was like I think it's on the Trompe Le Monde album, which came out when I was in high school. So,
That's awesome.
with the holidays coming up, do you guys any special plans or anything like that, or what's the
Yeah.
yeah? What are you guys doing?
Well, I've gotten used to the southern weather, and
Yeah.
it's really nice. Although Nashville, we're getting like a vortex, so it is gonna be 15 degrees Fahrenheit
Oh,
on
man.
Sunday, and it's preparing me though, I'm thinking positive thoughts. It is preparing me for Christmas at my parents', so back in
Okay.
Mass. So very
Little
excited for that because it'll be
micro
my son.
exposures of cold.
Huh?
Little micro exposures of cold here. Just go out and get
Exactly, it's
used to
good
it so
for
it's
me.
not such a shock.
Yeah, I guess, like, that cold therapy is supposed to be good for you, like those
Yeah.
ice baths and stuff.
Yeah. I've done that. I've done that.
You've done that? How
Yeah,
was it?
we'll talk about that offline. That's it's look, it's cool, okay, and that but
Yeah.
the rest of the day, I can't get warm. Like, I just can't, and you do,
Yeah.
like, 10
Well,
minutes
you
in
have to
there or whatever.
slowly go into it. You have
Yeah,
to
so
slowly.
I did the whole they have these places now, before they're all over the place, but it's like a sauna and then the cold plunge, right? So you kinda go
Right,
back and forth between the 2
right.
of them, and, done that a couple different times now, and, while yes, I think that, it has a lot of benefits as far as inflammation and stuff goes, but just the rest of the day, I feel like I'm chilled to my bones
Yeah, absolutely.
when
Well,
I
that
do that.
reminded me of a spring break trip that I took in, Red River Gorge, Kentucky, when I was into climbing, and this was back in college, and we had 15 people squeezed into a house that we rent a Airbnb or something like that, whatever
Okay,
was, and they had a hot tub, and, of course, you're a college kid, and you're like, "There's a hot tub? Heck yeah," and there's also a lake.
okay,
So, truth or dare, you'd have to go dunk yourself into the frigid lake
and then
'cause
come
it's
back in the
spring
hot tub.
break, it's still freezing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you'd warm up in the hot tub. That hot tub, it just reminded me, that thing was disgusting. I feel so bad now, like, thinking about, like, ownership, I'm like, "Those poor people,
Cool, right? Never
these
no,
freaking kids,
absolutely not. No.
they're
You're
not
you're
invited
kinda,
back."
like, outdoorsy. I didn't realize, like, I categorize myself as outsidey. I like to be outside, but then I wanna come home and, like, sleep in a bed or a hotel room and take a nice shower and stuff like that.
Mm.
You're, like, outdoorsy, like
I haven't been for a while. I feel like since since I've lived in the South, in Texas, where it's flat, and in Nashville,
yeah,
where it's like you have to drive more to East Tennessee to
okay,
get to the mountains. But man, I am like itching. I am itching for a really good. I just need to, be closer to a climbing gym, and there is some outdoor climbing here, but you got to go towards Chattanooga a little bit
okay,
more.
okay.
But oh man, I love it, and I'm just itching for my next adventure for sure.
Yeah, you're talking about going to Madagascar and going to the bathroom in
Hey, if
ditches.
anyone listening wants to go on a crazy trip like that, I need to get better at my macro photography, so I am all in. That's actually, like, one of my dreams. I wanna go to, like, the Amazon, like, all these places and just,
Okay,
like, capture w and I would love to go back to Madagascar and just capture all those things that I saw in the forest, and now I'd be able to put names to them. There was this
yeah,
one time, just to continue this podcast and make it even longer, where we were visiting. I think there were, like, some rice paddies. We were kinda, like, outside of the regular area. We had driven back towards town, and I think they wanted to show us some sort of, like, educational institute or something, but,
okay,
some rice paddies, and we were outside, and I needed to use the facilities, right? So, me and a couple other people, we ran up. They were like, "Well, there's nothing here." I don't know why. There's, like, never a bathroom in my stories in Madagascar, but there just weren't.
Same.
But you know, you can go up on that hill and just squat and, you know, use
Yeah.
use the restroom up there. So I'm running up this little hill off of the rice paddies and I'm trying to like be discreet. And as I'm sitting there, I looked up and there's like this big old orb weave, like a spider, like a huge one, you know, like one of those garden spiders
Oh, yeah.
with the big legs, like
Yeah.
right in front of my face. And I was like, oh God, let me just try to duck out of the way. But then I duck out of the way. There's like there's another one. There's another one. So I look up in this little like wooded area on the top of the hill there are spiders everywhere. And there's mamas and they've got thousands of babies around them. And I was
Yeah.
like, like, what is this? But wasn't like maybe
No.
it didn't freak me out because it was like finished up and it was more just like, what is this?
Yeah.
So I guess so there's something in us where it's like you see something like that, but we don't have the same flight or like what is it, fight or
Yeah, fight or
flight
flight. Yeah,
response.
that other people do. No, I get that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna live vicariously through your stories. I got a buddy named Wyatt who went to the Galapagos Islands.
Oh,
I'm not
that's what
that
I'm
guy.
talking
Like
about.
y'all can tell me about it when you get back. My other buddy runs a zoo here in Cleveland. He goes to Africa on like safari and stuff like that.
You don't
I,
want to go? Not interested at
no,
all?
no, I'm good. I'm cool. I'm
See,
good.
my
I,
husband is the same way.
yeah,
Mike and Mike, y'all would get along.
yep, exactly. Perfect. Y'all show me the pictures when you get back. I'm sure it was amazing.
Wow.
I just don't like. I don't want to sleep in trees. Like I don't
That's
want to do any of that.
amazing.
No, 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 no. I don't. I
That's
would be
so
honest with
funny.
you. I don't know that I've ever camped in a tent. Maybe, oh no, that's not true. One time, I do remember one time camping in a tent. Yes. So I'm just
Right
not,
on, Mike.
we have all these
Right.
people that like took off a bunch of time in the last couple of weeks to go hunting, right? Cause it's like hunting
Yeah.
season around here.
Right.
And yeah, never, no, I grew up in the city. Like I grew up like basically 10 minutes from like the Cleveland airport. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I just,
Yeah.
you know, I wasn't exposed to that kind of stuff as a kid, you know, in your formative years where you kind of develop that stuff. But no,
Yeah.
you drop me
Well,
off in New York City, I'm just fine. But yeah, you drop me off in the middle of nowhere. I'm not your guy.
that's so funny. Even to this day, since, you know, I was a downtown kid in my little town, my
Yeah.
dad would go, "You never liked the outdoors." You know, because I would come home from these trips, you know, in college and
Yeah.
everything, and you just go, "Who are you? This doesn't make,"
Right?
and you know, "I've
Yeah.
grown, Dad. I've grown." So
I'm
funny.
I'm a city kid through and through.
Well, this has been so fun.
It has been amazing. It's cool to like I kind of knew like little bits of your story. It was cool to hear all of it at
Yeah.
once. So um and I just personally want to say thank you to you. You know, as we round out the year, this has been, you know, an amazing year, an amazing first, you know, 7 episodes of this, and it has been an absolute pleasure to do this with you. So, I just want to say thank you to you for the opportunity
No.
to be here and do something fun. So, you know, very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you and your
Aw.
family.
Well,
So,
thank you so much. This has been honestly, when I look you know, back on the year, this has really been one of the things that stands out because it's been such a joy, not only to get to know you, because I think we just get along so well. It's been such a great project. And yeah, I couldn't have done it without you. I mean, having you there with me really made it just easy to just start because I think starting's the hardest thing.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. And it's been cool to meet, you know, to get to know these people. You know, we've been in this group for a while and you know people, but it's been really cool to get to know the folks that we're in
Absolutely.
this group with. So,
Yeah.
um,
So we
yeah,
will
so
be in person at
yes, yes,
Purdue University in January.
yep,
So look forward to interviewing live for the first time at Purdue.
yes.
So stay tuned for that. And Mike, it's just been a joy. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. All the
To you as
things.
well. Safe travels to you. And we'll see you in January at Purdue with Captain Stan the Mosquito Man.
Looking forward to it. All
Awesome.
right.
Thanks.
Peace. Bye, Mike.